Hello and welcome to Aico TV. This is episode 30. I'm Holly Moore.
And I'm Olivia Rose.
We've got an action-packed episode in store for you, so let's see what's coming up.
In the first segment, we join our Managing Director, Neal Hooper, at Shropshire Business Live TV.
Next, we take a look at our brand new City Guilds Assured Qualification with our Regional Specification Manager for Northern Ireland and Supply Chain Education Lead, Duncan Orr.
And we're joined by Tracy Hewitt, Education and Training Consultant at the Electrical Distributors Association.
And lastly, we take a look at the EI414, how to use it and what it does.
First up, we join our Managing Director, Neal Hooper, at SBLTV. He talks about the recent Aico Community Awards and the nominations for the Shropshire Business Awards.
Welcome back to Shropshire Business Live TV. We are live from the Shrewsbury Club here on court number 1, I think it is. Now our next guest, Neal Hooper from Aico, is keeping an eye on the match over there. Are they doing all right?
I am, yes. When this gets boring, I'll just start watching the tennis.
It could be quite early in that case, and we'll do our best to try and keep your attention going. Great to see you.
You too.
This month, for all sorts of reasons, is an awards month for Aico, isn't it? It's been a pretty full-on few weeks. You are the reigning Shropshire Company of the Year. In a couple of weeks' time, you will be trying to defend your title as Company of the Year, but you also held your own community awards, which I was honoured to be able to host at the ICC in Birmingham.
And we were more honoured that you hosted it, Carl, of course.
What a fantastic event that was, a beautiful venue. But talk to us about how that came about, because we've got awards, 2 different areas, haven't we? The importance of getting recognition for your own business from an awards point of view, but then the importance of giving something back from your company's perspective.
Yeah, we have the UK conference Cinema of the Year every year in June, so we've got one just coming up. And a year ago, rather than have a traditional conference, we basically asked all of our colleagues, what future do you want? So we've got a clear idea where we're going, our vision, our strategy over the next 5 to 10 years. But essentially, what do you want? You know, we're all equal stakeholders, so they came up with a whole host of ideas over the whole day. They were broken up into 10 groups. And the swimming pool on the roof will still never happen, but a lot of the ideas that they came up with were absolutely superb about things that we wouldn't have thought necessarily of doing. And one of them, a very strong one, was the Community Awards. We've got some of our community team here today. We've got Jane, Holly, Dan, Dave, Becky and Imogen. And they are organising all of us. We all have 4 days a year to go out into the community and do something to do good in addition to our holidays. So the idea of actually holding a community awards was just an absolute given, but nobody had ever thought about it until this group did. So to give recognition for the people who are out there, the inspiring people within the communities who are doing great things, and to give them recognition, and therefore, why don't we hold an evening? Why don't we have a celebration? Why don't we have a band, and just have great fun, and at the same time, listen to their stories about what they're doing, so all of us can learn from it. The UK is in the top 5 around the world for countries that are donating to charity, being up to good. So we know, with all the people that are here today, everybody's trying to strive to do good and do things for charity. So in the way that we enter awards, we sponsor awards, why not hold an awards show?
And we hear, an awful amount about sort of companies giving back. But how do you choose who to give back to and which causes to recognise? Because you've got, you're not just a Shropshire-based organisation. You've got strands, all over the UK, haven't you? So.
Well, basically, to start with, when I joined, which was 9 years ago now, everybody in the company, we started off, had a nomination. So everybody within the business said, I'd like to give money to this cause, I'd like to give money to that cause. And that was great, but that wasn't enough. So we then needed to think about, particularly in Shropshire, what more could we do? So we've got Jane and Linny, who are our community liaisons, so they go out and meet with people like Lincoln Davis, the Movement Centre, Little Stars Baby Bank, etc., and start talking to them about how can we help, what can we get up to. Willardine Rehabilitation Centre, there are 7 colleagues there today, from the photographs, chopping down things, painting things, moving things, up to all sorts of stuff.
But you won an award for connection with the Willardine, didn't you, the other day? That was last week, wasn't it?
Yes, we were very lucky, yeah.
We'll talk more about awards in a minute, but shall we have a little look at the community awards at the NIA? Let's have a look, the ICC even. Let's have a look.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. We didn't think, we honestly didn't think that it would be us.
We don't know when we'll. It's amazing. We're on here on behalf of our CEO Matt, who couldn't be here tonight. So it's just a big thank from everyone at Millwood, Woodmore, and just thank you.
It's been a fantastic event. I think Aico have went above and beyond and putting on a real good night for everybody that's here and has been represented. So it's been fantastic.
I know some of the people in the lineup, and to actually win it is just, I just can't believe it. I really am completely overwhelmed and delighted. So thank you, Aico, for doing this.
I'm shocked. Didn't expect it at all. Really quite chuffed. Yeah, really happy. Thank you.
Fantastic effort. We didn't, honestly, we were surprised we're actually here tonight, so to actually win it is fantastic.
Absolutely amazing. Brilliant. And who would have knew it that we were going to win? I don't think anybody was prepared for that.
So there we go, more than 300 guests, more than 200 entries. George Clark, the restoration man, nicked Ed Clancy's bike. It was all going on, wasn't it, on the night? So
I'm a bit disappointed with the edit, Carl, because I know you were throwing some really unusual dance moves on there that haven't made it through.
Before the watershed, you see,
Yes.
Neil, that's the issue. Before the watershed, nobody would want to see that. I mean, we should, you know, for people that don't know, just explain a little bit about the background to Aico and the size of Aico. I mean, you've milestone after milestone you've hit from a business growth point of view, haven't you, over the last few years? Is it approaching the magical 250 million turnover mark, aren't you now?
We should go through that this year, yes, we will do. I mean, everybody here, with people talking about it earlier and listening into about inflation, these are challenging times. There clearly is business out there. You've got to work harder, you've got to be smarter. We've just had the most awful 2 years any of us can probably remember. And we've had to change our business, our strategies, of course we had. And during the 2 years, this is where we all went to. You've been nominated and recognised for awards because of what you're doing here with webinars and streaming, live streaming, because we couldn't get out and see each other. I mean, thankfully, that awards show and many others, we're now getting back out there, which is great.
Do you feel like we've reached whatever the new normal is now then, or do you think there's more change to come?
No, I still can't see that. I still can't. I can't, when you listen about the energy prices and inflation, and of course you've got to look after your colleagues, absolute given, because if the inflation is going to 10% or double digits, then you've got to get ahead of that, and we already have at Aico with lifting everybody's terms and conditions. So it doesn't feel that way, and of course the absolute heinous genocide that's going on as well in Europe, that's clearly having an effect on everybody's pockets and the economies, most of all obviously the people themselves in the Ukraine. So I can only see tough times ahead. However, yeah, I can say we're very lucky with the growth that we have. We've had to find very different ways to achieve that, and I still think that will continue. This morning we had 150 people at the London Science Museum in Kensington talking about our advanced technologies. We wouldn't have done that probably 2 or 3 years ago. just inviting people to do that, to go to a science museum, to talk about technologies. Probably 2 or 3 years ago, we wouldn't have had people attending that. I think there is now a thirst for events and for educating and training, because we're all coming back out of the 2 years that we've had. So we have to be progressive. We have to keep looking at reinvesting, clearly the scale that we are, as well as the communities. We also need to keep reinvesting in our own business as well. We were talking about manufacturing a while ago. You know, we've got our own factory in Shannon with 1,000 people, with R&D and everything there. And we have to keep looking ahead 5, 10 years and taking almost guesses, hopefully educated guesses, but guesses nevertheless about what we think we're going to need in 5 or 10 years to continue our market share dominance.
If you're taking those guesses, then we have things coming up like COVID and the situation in Ukraine. How much does that affect you in terms of, you know, you've planned for something and then there's this big change halfway through?
Massive, because, and of course, Brexit. Our factory's in Shannon, Southwest Ireland, so everything comes through the ports and then comes over to Liverpool and then to us every single day, 3 or 4 containers every day to be able to achieve that turnover. So throw that into the mix as well. It's been, everybody here would say the same, it's been incredibly tough. And there was no manual for it. All of these things hit us. You know, COVID just kept escalating and escalating and obviously getting worse. Well, obviously not for everywhere, there were parties going on, but for the rest of us, things were getting successively worse, and you had to keep business moving. You know, we all had an obligation to each other because we're colleagues, people still got families, mortgages, etc. So how could we keep going? And I think out of that, if there's anything good to come out of the vile pandemic, it is resilience. I think we will never take what we had before when we've had good times in business before and within our lives. I don't think we'll ever take that for granted anymore, because there's always something around the corner that you're going to have to be aware of.
And we mentioned just earlier that, you know, you're up for 6 awards at the Shropshire Chamber Business Awards in a couple of weeks' time, defending your Company of the Year title. It should be a really good night at Telford International Centre. How important is it, given that backdrop, for the company to win awards? You know, not just for the sort of the feel-good factor and the staff, and what does it do for the workforce?
Well, I mean, you're up for awards as well, so congratulations to you guys, and there are other people here up for awards. I think it's just a great celebration, isn't it? We're all going to get together after years not being able to have an event like that in Shropshire. I think first and foremost that's the most important thing. Of course, the recognition is important. You know, we had over 300 people at those awards that wanted to come. We had over 200 entries for the 11 categories. They were inspiring. So it is great to be recognised, and it's great to recognise other people. But I think the thing that, aside from the recognition, and my colleagues would have their own story, I actually think the most important aspect of awards for me is when you look at the submissions, you actually look at what you're supposed to be doing, what you should be doing, what you should be up to, and actually there's always things in there, and you think we're a bit rubbish at that.
It focuses the business a bit more.
It absolutely does,
yeah.
Because you're looking at the submissions you have to give, and you think, well, we're not going to enter that, but that's not important. What is important is that thing that we're a bit rubbish at, we should be doing better. We should be striving to be the best we can be, and you look at things and think, we're not actually. So being recognised, yes, is wonderful, and independent judges will decide, etc. That's great. The most important thing from my perspective is that 20 of us are going to be there on the evening. I can't wait.
Taking a step outside of a business and looking back in it at yourself is one of the hardest things to do, though, isn't it?
It is when you're 59, overweight and ginger.
There's no need to talk to me about like that. Neal, thank you so much for joining us.
It was great to be part of the audience at Shropshire Business Live TV. Since then, we've been to the Shropshire Chamber Awards, and we were lucky enough to win 3. We won Business of the Year, Sustainability, and Young Business Person of the Year. Now we'll take a quick break to the HomeLINK technology.
Welcome back. Next up, we're going to take a look at our brand new City and Guilds Assured Qualification. Recently launched in May, the qualification is designed to provide an in-depth understanding on the design, installation, maintenance, interconnection, siting, and electrical connection of Aico domestic alarm systems. So our Regional Specification Manager for Northern Ireland and Supply Chain Education Lead, Duncan Orr, is going to tell us a little bit more about it and how you can sign up.
Hello, I'm Duncan Orr. I'm the Regional Specification Manager for Northern Ireland for Aico, and I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the new City and Guilds Assured programme. Before we get into that, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background. Aico, for those of you that don't know, are really one of the cornerstones of our business is education. As you can see there's 4 cornerstones: education, quality, service and innovation. And we're committed to providing the highest quality in all of those. But education is what we're here to talk about today. So what have we been doing up until now on education? Again, many of you watching this will have either heard about or have undergone our award-winning expert installer training. Obviously, it's all accredited by the Fire Industry Association, which is the industry that we're a part of. So we're really, really proud of that. Tens of thousands of people have undergone this training. We're now in the 2nd decade of this. Started off in 2009 under the former name Aptis. So it's been going for a long, long time. Primarily it's conducted either in person at our Centre of Excellence or on our mobile units, 4 of which travel around the country delivering this training. Obviously during lockdown it moved online, which is something that everybody had to sort of do to react to the circumstances, but thankfully we're now back to in-person training, and I don't think there's really any substitute for that. So that would certainly be the flagship, would be the expert installer training, but we also have a huge amount of other CPD presentations on various topics as new legislation and regulations start to come out. So that's sort of where we've been. But obviously that's been going a long time, so what does the future hold? Well, things never really stand still for long at Aico, and late in 2021 there was some conversations had about how could we evolve our training. The skills gap in the UK is widely publicised in the news, and we're keen to play our part in that as well. So not only that, obviously new standards and regulations coming to the market all the time, building a safer future, the Hackett report, there's new legislation coming through for smoke and carbon monoxide alarms, as well as other new technologies, so things such as the Homes Act, net zero. The case was there for the training to broaden more than it was in the short expert installer training that we had. As well as that, it's really our duty as the market leader to continue to promote the raising of standards, knowledge and competence within the industry, and we take that responsibility very seriously. So how would we do this? Well, we looked at external partners, considered several, but really there was only one name for us at the end of it, and that was City and Guilds. So again, I'm sure most of you watching this will know or have heard of City and Guilds. They are a household brand, and that's why they were selected. It's a brand really that we feel is in standing with the Aico brand and what we stand for. They're a global leader in skills development and partner with governments, employers and educators in over 50 countries. So you can see why they've been selected as our partner. Huge number of people earn a qualification with them every year, and again their values are aligned to ours in terms of trying to provide a skilled, competent and confident workforce. So we felt those were very aligned with where we wanted to evolve and bring our training to. So what is the AA 242601 course? What is it? Well, it builds on the foundation of Expert Installer. Expert Installer has been tremendously successful, as you've already seen, with the number of people that have undergone it, the training, and for the time that it's been in operation. So still very much there as a foundation, but obviously there's only so much information that you can impart in a short 60-minute CPD, which is what Expert Installer was. So AA2426 has been designed from the ground up and will be delivered by our technical team. So it's not delivered by any of the external specification team. It is delivered in-house in Oswestry by our technical team. It's a full day course, so again it expands. There's much more covered on the day than is covered in a standard expert installer. But probably the most important thing is that it's free of charge. So you will hopefully be spending a lot of your time here, and we feel that that provides tremendous value back to the industry, and again our contribution to the skills shortage, hopefully. So what can you expect? Well, it's robust and relevant training modules, but a mixture of practical and theory-based sessions. So it isn't just PowerPoint. We do mix it up. You'll go through some practical sessions where you get to code products, where you get to mark up drawings, where you try and apply some of the knowledge that you've learned on the day. That'll progress throughout the day through those various modules, culminating in a multiple choice assessment at the end. And successful candidates who achieve the required pass mark will get a City and Guilds certificate issued to them. That is a physical certificate that will be posted out. But in addition to that, there's also a digital credential, which has skills tags attached to it to evidence the various skills that have been picked up in the day and competency. So if that's of interest to you, you're maybe asking now, well, how do I apply for this? Well, potential candidates must have gone through the foundation. There's an awful lot of heavy standards and regulations topics covered, so a basic knowledge and understanding of this is required beforehand, and that we feel can only really be picked up through expert installers. So you must have sat through expert installer and be a current expert installer of no longer than 2 years. And also a member of the online community, which is completely free of charge. So why a member of the online community? Well, that's the vehicle that we use to process the registrations. So should you wish to apply and you meet those criteria, you can apply through the installer community, where you'll be presented with a selection of dates of the next available courses and when they're being run. Or if you don't meet any of the criteria or you're not sure how to proceed, you can register your interest via our website and someone will be in touch to advise you how to proceed from there.
So thank you to Duncan for providing us with the information there. If you do want to know more, you can head to our website, and if you're interested in signing up, all you need to do is go to the installer community online where you can see the next available dates. So we're going to have another quick break and we're going to take a look at our City and Guilds advert.
Next up, we join Tracy Hewitt at the Electrical Distributors Association. Owen Terry and I both talked to her about our apprentice experiences and the education that they do.
Hello, Tracy.
Hi, Alex.
nice to welcome you to Aico TV.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. So I'm joined with Tracy Hewitt from the EDA. Tracy, if you could just introduce yourself and tell me what you do.
Okay, so I'm part of the EDA. I'm their education and training consultant. I actually joined them in November, so through the pandemic. And my responsibility is to support the growth of education and training out to members and affiliates. So making sure that there's plenty of training available, sourcing those opportunities, making the most of government funding, incentives, making sure everybody's aware of it.
Okay, and the EDA have a number of training modules. How many do they have?
They do. So part of the training are the modules, and those modules are there to support product knowledge in the whole. There are 12 of them. 12.
Okay, is there any in particular that are more popular?
Principles of electricity is probably seen as the starting point for modules, and it's kind of an introduction module to electricity and the theory behind it and how some of the laws are worked out, what's covered across some of the other modules. And that's been our most popular, so over 700 learners, if we call them learners, have taken that module.
Okay, and have you got people that have completed all 12 modules? Can you do that?
You can complete all 12 modules. It's quite a commitment, and they're few and far between, the number of people that do that. So we always celebrate people that have done 12 modules. So we've had 6 of those that have completed all 12 modules, and 2 of them have completed all 12 modules at distinction.
Brilliant. And then when it comes to the end of the module, is there a test and assessment?
There's an end of module assessment. We call it the EMA, and they are questions that are set by or approved by City and Guilds. It's what's called an open book assessment. So although you have to answer the questions in your own words, you can refer back to your workbook or use information from colleagues that you've picked up or further research that you've done. And as a result of that EMA, you'll get graded either fail if you haven't answered enough of the questions, pass, credit or distinction.
Each module takes about 10 weeks, is that right?
Each module's allocated 10 weeks, 40 hours. So yeah, that's 120 weeks.
A long time. So with each module, is there sort of a test at the end?
There is. The modules are all City and Guild accredited. So they are proper qualifications, and you're awarded by City and Guilds. And the test happens towards the end of that 10 weeks. So you request the test when you think you're ready to do it. It's quite a nice process. You can have the workbook still available, still with you when you answer the questions. So there shouldn't be a reason to fail. Unfortunately, some people do.
That's unfortunate. And so far to date, how many people have you had complete the modules?
So we have sold 3,376 modules have been ordered so far to date. And of those, we've had 1,826 people receiving distinctions.
That's a good percentage then.
It's a good percentage, yeah. And the modules, they're not just there for the wholesalers, they're not just there for their staff to fully understand the products that are being sold and the information behind the products to add that added value. What we're finding more and more is that our affiliate organisations, the manufacturers, are making use of them, as you guys are here at Aico. But they are making use of them because it helps them to talk the same language as the wholesalers that they're selling to.
No, brilliant. And obviously you have to be a member of the EDA to take up the training modules, isn't that right?
You can take up the training modules without being a member, but they do cost you more.
Right, okay.
So it's a discounted price for EDA members.
Okay. And is there any modules in particular you would like, anyone watching to look at? Do you have a favourite?
All of the modules are great, but given the push at the moment around sustainability, and certainly the increase in the number of electric cars and charging points, we would say, don't forget, we have a module on renewables.
Renewables, okay.
Absolutely.
Links in well to the kind of Construct Zero that obviously Anne was talking about as well.
It does.
Greener, more sustainable.
And it's one of those products that's, or the renewable products are very much in focus at the moment. And if staff haven't been fully trained on them and can't advise the customer at the other end, then the renewables module is the one that you need to choose.
So Tracy, when it comes to finding out more about the modules, people can go on the EDA website to find out about these?
So on the website, there is a downloadable course directory that gives a synopsis of what's covered in each of the modules. It also identifies the price and the process for ordering. So everything that you need to know is in that course directory.
Okay, Brilliant, and I'm sure from people that know, but the modules are CPD certified, is that right?
They are, so they are City and Guilds accredited,
Yes.
as well as being CPD approved as well. So what that means is for your continuing professional development, they have 40 hours of study attached to them, and you can request a CPD certificate to prove that you've done so many hours within that academic year.
Perfect, well, brilliant. Thank you for that, Tracy. We're going to be joined by some of our apprentices later. We'll have the pleasure of being interviewed by yourself, and they can explain more about the sort of modules they've undertaken. And thank you for talking to me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Welcome, Olivia. Thanks for coming to talk to me. What is it that you do at Aico?
So I work in internal sales, mainly processing our orders that are coming from wholesalers and answering the phone calls from can be from everyone, from electricians or wholesalers, end users.
So you need to know your staff, and B, you need to understand customer service, yeah?
Definitely.
So how did you hear about the EDA product knowledge modules?
So a few of my colleagues had already done it, and the SBC training company that we work with for the apprenticeships, they pushed it as well.
And what module have you looked at?
The customer service one.
And you finished that now, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
And what grade did you get?
I got a distinction.
Well done, Olivia. That's fantastic. So how's it helped you in your role?
So it's made me understand how important customer service is and how important it is to put the customers first.
And can you think of one thing in particular that's had an impact? So something that you've learned from that module in dealing with a customer? Prioritising
my work and writing lists, and when more things come in, fitting it in, prioritising, making sure everything gets done.
Okay, so when you prioritise, when you use that list, what's it made up of? Urgent?
Yeah.
Really urgent?
Deciding whether things are urgent, really urgent, or if they can be left for later in the day, and prioritising the urgent things.
Brilliant stuff. So what would you say to somebody else who was thinking maybe about doing a module? What's the benefit of doing the modules?
I definitely recommend it. It just builds up your knowledge in the sector that you're working in.
Did you find it very technical, or was it in language that was really easy to understand?
It was really easy to understand. There was a few words that I didn't, but it was all explained thoroughly in the workbook.
And the way the workbook looks, was that useful? Because it's not all text, is it?
No, it's not. It definitely was. And the little tests at the end of each section as well really helped make sure that I knew everything that I needed to.
Fantastic. And the end of module assessment. So you've done your 8 weeks of study, and then you get your end of module assessment. How daunting was that?
It wasn't too bad. I'd worked. I knew what I was expecting. Other people had told me what happened, so yeah, it was quite easy.
And straightforward to complete?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you. So welcome, Owen. Thanks for coming to talk to me about EDA product knowledge modules. But can you introduce yourself first of all?
Yep, so my name's Owen Terry. I used to be a technical advisor apprentice, and now an actual technical customer service advisor. So so I've been working at Aico for almost 3 years now.
Brilliant stuff. So we're here to talk about the customer service module.
Yes.
Yes. So how did you hear about them?
So when I did when I first started my course for the apprenticeship scheme that we did, we were one of the first apprentices to be at Aico, and my job role, along with a lot of my colleagues, is very customer service based.
Yeah.
So we talk to customers if it's perhaps a wholesalers for my department, but for electricians and users, we talk to a lot of range of different types of customers. So when it was put forward to do the EDA customer service, immediately we all thought that would be absolutely brilliant to do. Just because coming from college to a work environment and having to then go into the working world and not really understand too much, it was probably best course to actually gain an understanding of what customers actually want from you and how to deal with those customers as well.
Brilliant stuff. And they built that into part of your apprenticeship?
They did, yes, yeah.
Okay, so that's great. How did you find the content? It wasn't too technical?
No, it wasn't too technical at all. And with it being open book as well, it's not as stressful as for exams. So the reason I did apprenticeships and didn't go to university was mainly because I didn't like exams that much. I used to get very stressed. You get deadlines. You have to literally, it's a memory game half the time. And even though you go through the entire book, you really have to read through all the book, do the questions at the end of each module, making sure they're actually reading for everything. A lot of it goes in, and if you do stress about something, I don't really know too much about this, or I'm not too much about this, but you
can't remember
certain aspects of it, you can look back in the book. And the book doesn't give you necessarily the answers, but it guides you into those avenues where you can actually do, and say with really long questions that you have to do for the actual end exam or module. Though that open book part of it actually really does help with less stress on you.
Brilliant stuff. So can you give me an example of how it's helped you in dealing with customers? So is there anything in particular that you can think about?
Yeah, so the course, the book of those is mainly kind of avenues from the aspects of a wholesaler dealing with customers and electricians and stuff like that. And even though I don't necessarily talk to wholesalers on a daily basis, from a wholesale perspective, what a contractor needs from them, when I talk to contractors, electricians, or anybody who in the industry, I get more of an idea of what stress and what they require from us. Because a lot of the times I'm not an electrician.
Yeah.
I'm not in their boots all day. I've got my own things going on when I'm behind the phone. But having a more in-depth idea of what's actually going through their head, so if they are being difficult customers to you, then you've got an idea and you can actually feel kind of
support them in
what they need. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, brilliant stuff. So what would you say to somebody who hasn't taken a module but might be thinking about it? What's it done for you?
I would, if you're coming into an industry where there is a lot of customer service based, I would definitely recommend this 100%, because it definitely did open up my eyes to how customer service should be done, how you treat, how you talk to customers, deal with customers who are perhaps not the best well-mannered, or how to react in those type of scenarios. And if you haven't been put in those scenarios before, it's the best way to probably do it.
Okay, so Olivia has spoken to us as well, one of your colleagues, and she said that she really has taken away how to prioritise her workload for the customer service module. Is there one big takeaway that you've got from the book?
For me, was mainly, like I said before, it was kind of getting into the boots of the actual contractors and understanding them more, because they come to us with problems, but queries and everything like that. And if they start getting a bit angsty or getting a bit harder with us, they could be completely. Before I took the course, I never knew what a contractor had to do, and never did the stress and everything like that. But now I can understand it more. I can be a little bit more resentful, but a little bit more supportive. More, like I said before, more supportive.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Owen.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for having me.
It was great talking to Tracy about our experiences. Now let's head over to Holly, who's going to talk about the FAQ.
So as always, we're going to finish off the episode with an FAQ. This time we're going to be looking at our EI414 interface, and it's going to be delivered by our National Technical Manager, Andy Speak.
Hello, in this video we're going to be talking about the EI414 alarm interface. This is a fire and carbon monoxide alarm interface. Essentially it is a relay and an input module combined into one unit. So to give you a quick overview of the outside, we have 3 icons across the top which correspond with the relevant relays within. So we have fire, service and CO. Also on the outside, underneath, we have a house code slot, and you would house code this device exactly the same as you would house code any of our other alarms or RF devices. The only other thing on the outside is the key, and there's 3 sections on the key. We have on, off and test, and we'll come back to that at the end of the video on how they work. If we're to pop the front off the unit, Immediately you will see an antenna. This is an RF device, so to use this in an installation you would need to make sure that it's either an RF, a radio link installation, or at least has some element of that installation that can talk via radio link. If we look at one side, we've got a series of 3 relays. So we have fire, service and carbon monoxide, and they correspond with the relevant different devices. So if a fire alarm activates, it will trigger the fire relay. If a carbon monoxide alarm triggers, it will activate the CO relay, and the service relay is triggered whenever, say, a head is removed from the base, or maybe there's a sensor fault detected. That would trigger the service relay. If we're to look at the other side, we have a mains input. It's a mains power device, so here's our 230 connections here. It can also be powered by an extra low voltage source as well, such as a 12 or 24 volt, and that's what the next 2 connections are along here. If we're to move on further, we've got an input, and this unit would predominantly be used with maybe a sprinkler flow switch, so quite often you would interconnect from your sprinkler to the alarm. So if the sprinkler activates, you would want the alarms to sound, and that's where you'd wire from the sprinkler flow switch into this device. The final one is also an input, but this is a triggered input. So if you want to trigger the unit based on, say, a 12 volt or 24 volt input, that's where you would use these connections here. The only other thing on the inside is a battery backup, and that's just a little toggle switch at the bottom to power it on or off. If we put the front back on, just to explain the key operation, we have 3 different positions. So off is, as the name suggests, would leave the unit powered off. It may be used if the property is void. On is the position it would be in most of the time. So we want to be encouraging residents to be testing their alarms quite regularly, but you may not necessarily want every time a test button is pressed on an alarm to trigger the relevant relay. Quite a common application for this device would be linked to telecare units and dispersed alarms, in which case you wouldn't necessarily want to activate a call to an alarm receiving centre just because a resident has testing their alarms. So in the on position, it will send a genuine activation, but will not send a test signal. If, however, you're the installer, you're a contractor, you want to commission the unit, you want to test that it is doing what it would do, that's when you would move the key to the test position. In the test position, simply pressing the test button on an alarm will activate the relevant relay, so you can test that connection through to whatever device. It could be a strobe, it could be a sounder, it could be the alarm receiving centre via a telecare unit. And that is a very quick overview of the EI414.
So thank you to Andy for telling us about the EI414. If you've got any more questions about our products, you can visit our FAQ page on our website, or you can visit our YouTube channel where there's lots of how-to videos.
Or you can also follow us on our social media, where we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Thank you for watching, and see you next month.
See you next time.